So who's starting?
Sir, may I?
Yeah, why not? This is where we
शुरू
are
करें अभी?
starting. Yeah, शुरू करो.
Yeah. 9 weeks passed. It was mid-January. Winter had slowly begun to make her cold presence felt. The mornings and the nights were pleasant, while the afternoons were still humid and hot. Rudra slept on the veranda sofa and looked out at the night sky. Countless stars glittered, and somewhere an insomniac cricket made a nuances of itself. The dogs lay about on the veranda after a dinner of boiled vegetables and chicken stock, with a few bones thrown into a complete the feast. Rudra cooked for them twice a week and stocked the food in the freezer. Feeding them made him feel closer to his children. He shut his eyes and moaned. He was in the rather bad shape, his body aged. His breathing was shallow, and his head hurt. The pain in his head was worse, and his energy level was virtually non existent. He knew that in the matter of a week he would be dead. He could sense time closing upon him. He remembered, as a child, having a sand clock. At least that is what everybody insisted on calling the timepiece. It, it took exactly 15 minutes to empty itself into another similar bowl below. Rudra would time his work through that. 4 rounds meant an hour, and usually Rudra would work for an hour and a half, as he would forget to turn the sand clock once the sand had run itself out. Rudra was certain that his sand was running out too. He could feel it in his bones. He could sense it in his breathing. The cold embrace of the death had begun to envelop him. Rudra smiled. All his life he had wanted to die, but now that he lay dying, he didn't want to leave Mother Earth. Or maybe he didn't want to leave so soon. Rudra smiled. Even smiling was painful now. He knew this phase would pass and he would gather his strength and again sit for channeling and be an instrument for healing. Where the strength came from, or why he forced himself to sit and pray or channel. No clue. It was as though he was programmed and he was on auto, and he had little option but to go with the flow and follow whatever the program wanted him to do. He sighed and sat up on the sofa. He had blister in his mouth, tongue, and way into his throat. For the past 3 days, he had eaten no food and could barely drink water. Even breathing hurt. Since he became to be a medium for healing apart from his will, every pore and cell in his body ached and felt bruised. He often joked with his dogs that the pain originated from his ass to his head. People came from far, and they came in carloads, word of mouth, and because pain, agony, helplessness is so universal and so profound that mankind will resort to anything and anybody to find a way out of their drudgery, the knots of karma, and the stringent settling of scores of the stars above. Rudra was under no illusion that the people came because of his so called powers. Yes, Rudra had been told by innumerable people that their lives had changed due to his presence and his prayers and guidance and predictions. But Rudra brushed all this aside. He was doing nothing but what Baba wanted to be done, and he had no illusions about himself. Also, he was aware that one predictions, and those who now believed in him would swear at him. Mankind was a strange amalgam of petty emotions and a melting pot of heaven and the hell. What rose from that melting pot, even the God Lord had to work hard to keep track of. Rudra was also aware that people weren't interested in his health or well being. As long as he could be a medium, they would come to him even if he were on his deathbed. But Rudra did not mind or hold this against them. He was aware of human emotions and insecurities, and he understood mankind. For some reason, he loved mankind. Maybe he himself had so many flaws and weaknesses and issues that and identified with everybody else. There is one infallible law of planet Earth. There are no free meals. You pay for everything, one way or another. Rudra smiled. Only with the master free meals were provided. Only with the Guru only with the Guru can one expect anything without any strings attached. The Master wants nothing from you but that you walk the right path and merge with the God, and he or she is aware that there will be innumerable sleeps and mess ups, innumerable times and lifetimes before the child gets his or her act together and walks on the straight road. Till then, the Guru is with the child, not wanting anything but the good and final homecoming of the child. Once, when Rudra had asked Baba about how should one's love for the Guru and God be, Baba had replied, "Love the Guru and God like dogs love their master and family, unconditional." What does the dog want from the master? Nothing but love and its master's presence. It obeys every command. The dog lives for a smile and a hug. The owner may be rich or may be poorest person on earth, or may have from a king turned into a pauper. He or she may be famous or the most condemned person in the universe, but the dog will love unconditionally. The dog will sleep, wait, eat, breathe, and uncondition its entire life to please and be with the master. The dog has no demands but that of a love and tenderness. No conditions apply, for the master is never wrong. The master may flog the dog, but the dog will wag its tail 10 minutes later at the sight of the master. That is pure love. If mankind can love as a dog loves his master, then trust me, child, the spiritual kingdom is yours for the asking. Love unconditionally, love completely, become love itself. Your dog will live for you and die for you. Its eyes will follow you wherever you go, and its eyes will wait for you when you aren't home. It wants nothing in return but your love. That is how one needs to love. Dogs were created to teach mankind how to love and be faithful. Unfortunately, instead of man learning from the dog, nowadays dogs are becoming more like human beings. Sad are the ways of the world. Strong the chariot, maybe, or skilled the charioteer, till all the horses are not in unison about the path and the way through it. Only hell and pandemonium rule. Nothing resigns but chaos. Living in the present moment and chanting the holy name and walking with the Lord creates a single minded desire and a harmonious momentum that makes the journey blissful and enjoyable. Two nights later, 2 nights later, Rudra lay in his room, moaning in pain. His head felt as though a hot rod had found its way through it. He could not breathe, as even that hurt. His throat from within was filled with the blisters, as was his mouth and tongue. He hadn't eaten for days. The only consolation filled with about not eating was that he had to wash the vessels. He smiled. Rudra, you have got your priorities all scrambled up, brother. He could hear his friends outside on the veranda. He made a Herculean effort and stood up. Slowly, he navigated his way to the kitchen. Fortunately, there was a bowl with the food for them. The last bowl, though, he sighed. Tomorrow, what would be sops eat? He barely had the strength to walk from one room to another. Going to the market seemed out of the question, but he would have to. Baba, this is a SOS. Give me strength or find somebody else to take care of these friends of mine. As my dear father, these three dogs aren't interested in channeling and healing and energy transfer, but just love, care, and food. Rudra smiled. He was certain Baba. The aroma of the food hurt his stomach. He so desperately wanted to eat, but he could not. Rudra slowly went to the veranda. There was instant wagging of tails and whinnying and even barks of happiness. Rudra saw his friends and tears welled his eyes. He poured the food in their three respective bowls and then slowly buckled on the sofa. Blondie, as usual, waited for Rudra to tell her to begin eating. Rudra could not, as he couldn't speak. Blondie waited. Rudra to tell her to begin eating. Rudra could not, as he couldn't speak. Blondie waited. Rudra whispered, but no audible words came out of his mouth. Rudra signaled Blondie to eat. Blondie waited. Rudra, with every last ounce of strength in his body, got up, dragged the bowl, crouched, put his hand in the food, took a morsel, and fed Blondie. Blondie ate the morsel and looked deep into Rudra's eyes. Tears began to stream down the man's unshaven cheeks. Rudra looked into the food, took another morsel, and fed his friend. Then he sat by the bowl and motioned Blondie to start eating. After much hesitation, Blondie slowly began to eat. It was obvious that she didn't have the heart either in the food or in the act of eating itself. The other two finished their meal and sat by Rudra. For a long while, all of them sat on the veranda, watching the sky and hearing the waves sing their soothing lullaby. The air had a nip to it, and Rudra stood up, entered the room, rummaged through his meager belongings, got out three bed sheets and placed them on the spot where each dog had its territorial real hold. Blondie walked towards Rudra. She rubbed her body gently along Rudra's legs. Rudra sighed and slowly made his way back into his room where the oil lamps burnt and Baba's vibration were all around.
This
He
one.
slowly got into the bed and shut his eyes. He had no idea whether he slept or not. He had no idea whether it was night or day. He knew his time had come. He missed his children. He yearned for them. He remembered all at home, his family, his childhood, his friends, the fun he and his kids had together in the 11 years they had spent together. He remembered the loved ones, the woman he had loved, and the women who had loved him so dearly. He had heard so many, but he never meant to. He remembered all who, in their own wonderful and tender way, so had enriched his life. Strangely, he never remembered the hate and anger. He could only had remember each one of them with love and remember their love for him. He remembered all those who had come for channeling and healing and a soft prayer went out to Baba to take care of them. All those he knew in this lifetime and lifetimes, all those in the physical plane and in the spirit plane, and those in between. Rudra prayed for them all. Then Rudra saw Baba enter. Baba looked at him and smiled. Baba sat by his side and kissed Rudra's forehead. Rudra wanted to get up to touch Baba's hand, but he couldn't. He wanted to tell Baba he really loved him, but no words came through. The last image was that of Baba smiling at him, and Rudra smiled back. You have to die, my son, to live forever. Sleep now, my beta. When you wake up, all will be well. Believe in what your fakir says. A sigh escaped Rudra's parched lips. He had Baba with him. He wanted nothing more, nothing less. He looked deep into the he looked deep into Baba's eyes and slowly darkness enveloped him. A few seconds later, his three pets entered the room, followed by a young couple. The dogs silently sat near Baba. The young couple saw Rudra lying on bed. They saw three dogs gazing at Rudra. The young couple had never seen him look so peaceful. Something about Rudra touched Rudra's feet. The young couple looked around the sparse room. Apart from the flame burning bright and Rudra's three friends, there was nobody else in the room. But for some reason, both men and the woman felt divine eyes observe them. They looked once again at the sleeping man and silently left the room. Baba looked at the three dogs. He smiled. Tails began to wag incessantly.
End of this story, right?
Yeah.
What is the takeaway of what we studied today?
For me, you need to one need to learn how to love somebody. How it's so beautifully it has been explained. You need to love how dog loves. He doesn't want anything, just want love. That's all. That's my takeaway for this whole thing. Whatever I read.
Can I talk,
Any
sir?
other? Yeah.
Yes, sir. So, yes, this is the second or third time I'm reading this last few lines, and it is always like with a, usually I expect, we all expect to have a happy ending, but for some reason, I feel very heavy at heart whenever I'm reading this last part. And yes, the takeaway would be like, when it comes to the dog, each and every word I can vouch on each and every word. And that's how I feel about the dog. And for me, it's an extent, to an extent, I always say I don't want to hurt anyone's feeling or offend anyone. But I say, oh, God ko agar ulta karenge na, the dog, like it's the same thing for me. They are the mirror image. The way dog gives unconditional love, so is God. तो मेरे लिए वो दोनों एक ही जैसे हैं मतलब. And I have you all know I have a dog, and exactly this is what I felt for my Abby or for any other dog. For any other dog, I feel exactly the same thing. And I God को तो नहीं देखते, but हाँ, we know that dog gives an unconditional love, and so of course God also does that. And the funny instance was that, like, when they were talking about Goldie, that she wouldn't eat. So is my dog. Usko bolna padta hai, khao, or, eat, only then she eats. So I had to come back once from office, jaldi bazi mein chali gayi thi. I was like confused whether I said her to eat or not. And she wouldn't eat if I wouldn't say her to eat. So I had to come back from office to check. So because that guilt would kill me ki pata nahi wo khai ki nahi khai. So this last few pages of the story was like, and of course when they say the most beautiful part was that when jab life khatam hone aata hai, tab sirf अच्छे, you tend to remember only the good things of your life, all the good parts of your life. That probably touched again my heart, you forget all the animosity or the complaints or the regrets. I mean, I don't know, but that's what they said. That's what is being stated in this last line, that you remember only the good times and you miss them, and you miss all the good moments of your life, all comes in front of you. So yes, beautiful last few pages, sir. That's mine.
What is the key takeaway?
As I said, sir, to me, okay, go ahead, whoever's going.
Oh, this is Swarna. Yeah, to me, like, have faith, complete faith on superconscious or whoever you believe in, and that comes with the surrender. Just to surrender yourself and have faith. Yeah, God will take care of me. Yes, He will take care of it. No second thought. So that's my takeaway from this paragraph. Thank you.
one fundamental thing I was looking forward
For
to
me-
hear from. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. For me, it's also that, even it says that there is a sentence which talks about one second, the mother, one second, I'll just try to find that sentence. Is always there with, even when you mess up. Master wants nothing from you but that you walk the right path and merge with God, and he or she is aware there will be innumerable slips and mess ups, innumerable times and lifetimes before the child gets his or her act together and walks on the straight road. Till then, the guru is with the child. That this, the what stood out for me is that having the trust that the master is always there, irrespective of how you go about doing things, that the master is always there behind you.
Yes.
That trust and that kind of a feeling is something.
Sorry, a couple of questions here.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Sir, I have a couple of questions. Basically, I know you are asking for the takeaways.
I have one thing to share before the question, sir, because question then we go into discussion. So this is my takeaway is master always gives unconditional love, just like the dog loves its master. Here, master is guru or the higher, whomever you believe in. No matter what, how bad or how good we are, it's all unconditional love. And he doesn't judge us. It's just unconditional pouring love. We might fall, we might get up, we might do good to others or bad to others. It doesn't matter at all. In spite of all that, he still loves us. Thank you.
Yes.
Shailajamma, that's exactly my question, saying that what is unconditional love?
I am Madhu and
sir, what goes around comes around. It's a very simple sentence. What is unconditional? Conditional depends on the person who is doing it or who is receiving it. So what goes around comes around. The way you give, the way you take.
It is more confusing now.
No, sir, I will make it very simple.
How I look at unconditional love again is that the love for the person, you may not like what the person is doing, but the love for the person still remains. You may not like the action, but you will still, you will not, just because of the action, you will not change your love for the person.
So unconditional.
Yes, sir.
Literally means
the love for the person is not based on the condition that they are like this. Only then I will love them.
Right.
It's like
Mother's
mom
love.
and kids. It's like
Mother's
how
love.
unconditional between mom and kids.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
mother's love is pure.
Mother's
and
love is unconditional. वो बच्चा बदमाश भी होगा तो still she will just try to rectify that thing, but not like her love wouldn't change for the kids. I mean, I think that's the unconditional love.
True.
You
Yeah.
might not
Some of it
like
all,
action.
I agree.
You might
Some
not
of it
like
all,
the
I
action
agree.
or the response or how they have responded. You might not like it, but you never dislike the person. You might dislike the action that the person has done.
Yes. So unconditional, that's all that it means.
Yes.
There is no
unconditional.
necessity, no need for other person to love you back.
Sir,
Yes, sir.
You just
unconditional
love
is
one-way
equal to.
traffic.
Right.
Let us attempt to define unconditional. After having heard everyone, it is simple. Unconditional is equal to, or unconditional love is equal to love minus expectations, comma, returns, comma, attachments. If you remove all these three components, right, that love, which is devoid of all these three, which means there is no dependency in terms of giving that love out. That is unconditional love.
Can you repeat those three things, sir?
Devoid of attachment, expectations, And what was the third one? I forgot.
Returns, sir. Returns.
Return.
Returns.
Yeah, I love you, you love me, that kind of a thing.
Correct. So this again brings back to the fundamental takeaway of the entire book, which is basically having three kinds of faith. What are the three kinds of faith that he enunciated in the book? Somebody help me brush my memory.
Yes, the first one is the conditional. Like if you do, the faith is conditional.
Faith is not conditional.
Faith is an emotion. There is no
in the sense like,
sir, it's
when
like
we're
this.
talking about three.
See, your belief or faith here is of
it's an emotion that you have.
No, whether it is emotion or not, it is an expectation fundamentally. You give it any other name, it's okay. One second, let this go down, fellow.
Sometimes we define blind faith. That means which is different from the faith.
Sir, blind faith is a form of unconditional faith.
Yeah.
First one, praying with expectation.
What is that?
No, it is not praying
Third
with
one is,
expectation.
That's what I was telling.
It is not. It is not. Faith is absolute faith, and faith is just sort of trust on the other person. That's all.
No, sir. No, sir. That
A
itself
belief.
is in three categories. That itself is what forms three categories. First one is, I have been lighting a lamp to my God Sai Baba every day, so he has to take care of me.
So with expectation that you will be taken care of.
Correct. The second one is, if Baba does this for me, I will give him this.
That is transactional.
That is transactional. That's also faith.
Yeah, but that's
also faith.
Still.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's still faith.
Okay.
The final one is, whatever I may ask for, my mother will give me only what is good for me. Mother here meaning God.
Yeah.
Total
That is
surrender.
absolute faith.
That is absolute faith.
Yes.
So
transactional faith, absolute
Yes.
faith we have defined now.
no,
Two of them.
transactional faith, right? Faith, because faith which is based on
Give and
exchange
take.
principle. No, that is what?
Yes.
The
Give and
exchange
take.
principle.
Yeah. That is
And the
transactional.
third one is,
Absolutely.
I may ask for the world, but I believe Baba will give me what I deserve. Which means I am devoid of any ownership of what I am doing. If I have got 100 rupees, all I have to do is to earn that level of faith, I have to ensure that 20% of it is set aside for charity. If not 20%, at least 5%. That is the theme on which this entire book has developed, is my take.
Yeah, just a couple of questions I said, sir. So the second question is still due.
Yes, sir.
Coming out of this topic, the last sentence he says is that a couple finds more peace when he is dead. I cannot understand, because I thought he was restless because his dogs wouldn't eat at the last minute, and he feels really bad because he couldn't ask the dog to, because the sound doesn't come out of his mouth. In that state, he died. But after death,
one sec.
the couple finds him
let me just
more peaceful.
Because he went with Baba
So
next to
would
him.
death give
When
more
Baba
peace?
came back, Sir Ramakrishna sir, when Baba was with him at that point of time, so he went peacefully. It says no, Sai escaped
the last
Rudra's
page,
parched lips.
I am reading that, sir. I am reading that 1 second. A few seconds later, his pets entered the room, followed by a young couple. The dogs silently sat near Baba. The young couple saw Rudra lying on the bed. They saw 3 dogs gazing at Rudra. The young couple had never seen him look so peaceful.
Yeah.
No, he is
more peaceful on death.
Sir, everybody looks very peaceful on death.
Read the previous paragraph. The previous paragraph says, no, you have to die, my son, to live forever. Sleep now, my beta. When you wake up, all will be well. Believe in what your Fakir says. Sai escaped Rudra's parched lips. He had Baba with him. He wanted nothing more, nothing less. He looked deep into Baba's eyes and slowly darkness enveloped. So there itself, it shows that he's like feeling very peaceful and nice with Baba next to him.
So that's right. Okay. So looking into Baba's eyes granted him the peace.
Sir, but I would probably differ a little bit. While that is giving us or leading us towards saying that he is peaceful, right?
Yeah.
The young couple saw Rudra lying on the bed. They saw 3 dogs gazing at him. The young couple had never seen him look so peaceful. See, when you are lying still and absolutely immobile, which is typically equal to death.
Oh, did he die?
No, at that stage, everybody looks peaceful.
But I thought, I did not. I was just thinking maybe he's sleeping and then he will get better.
He's no more.
Oh, he's no more. Oh.
Yeah.
See, because Baba says, when you get up, you feel better and, live forever. So then I was thinking, oh, he will wake up.
No, it's over.
Oh, you had to die, my son, to live forever.
That's right.
Yes.
Live forever, meaning the undying soul.
Soul level. Okay.
Right. And so this is exactly what I saw even in my father's face. See, in the last 1.5 days, he was very breathless. His breathing had to be supported by supply of oxygen and all that. But there was still pain on his face. When the last breath left his face, right, the face became very bright. Right, I relate to that last sentence that way, the question that you raised. So generally, once life leaves us, the agony leaves us, the pain leaves us, all that is left is ultimate faith. Ultimate peace. So everyone in deathbed looks peaceful. If it is a normal death. If it is a death by some other accident and all, if it's a violent death or something like that, I don't subscribe to this sentence. But if it is a normal death, generally people who die, they look very peaceful, serene and all that.
Yeah. And
so
then
I have a question. Then after when did he write this book? This is some channeling of the Rudra to somebody, like after
Rudra is a character introduced by the writer.
I see. Okay, okay. Yeah. Okay, got it.
Yeah, just one more question on it, sir. I'll stop
Yes, sir.
asking questions later.
No, you can.
See, obtaining a guru, is it also something to do with the fatal? A good guru who can have 100% faith, like Baba here. How, I mean, what is it totally fatal that one gets into such thing by destiny, or one can make an effort to get one?
Sir, come again with the question, because I have an answer. I just want to validate the question once again.
Yeah, I mean, getting a good guru with to have an absolute faith, is it something to do with the faith, or is it something that a person can make an effort?
Sir, see, fundamentally, right, we don't recognize, but in reality, we are guided right through. Right? Now, if we want a guru in this true form, our spiritual evolution is the one that will attract a guru that we recognize.
Yeah.
Right? So it is our spiritual evolution that happens to be the basis on which we attract a guru. For attracting a guru, what do you require? You require to demonstrate the qualities of God himself, which is total trust, total faith, total surrender. That is when a guru is none other than a representative of God. But then
that's the feeling,
that representative is already there inside you.
Yeah.
But you are clouded by your ego. So if you surrender that ego, that cloud, the true God or true guru will be visible to us.
So it will be the duty of guru to drive ego out of the disciple, is it not?
No. The guru will give you circumstances and then keep testing you. Right? So, one way the answer to your question is, have you responded or have you reacted? To every test that you face, right? It will fall under one of the three varieties of faith. In spite of my lighting a lamp every day for Baba, he has not helped me. Is that a faith? Sir, would you call that faith? I have been going to Shirdi every year without faith. But in spite of it, he is not taking care of it.
Yeah, that means you lost faith.
Which means your true love on Baba has not been demonstrated. So what will you attract Baba with? Right? So it is our behavior which will result in attracting the true guru. Just like I will not go to a house where I feel unwanted, even though he loves me. Right? He wants me to learn the lesson so that I ask him something, he may still give me. He may give me thrashing, he may give me all that, but he will ensure that I continue.
Yeah, I just thought I'll bring up three of the points. Unconditional love and faith, and how Guru's association would help us and how to get one. And is really death so peaceful? These are the 3 points I thought. will contribute at the last page.
No, but in terms of peace and death, I have physically seen that with my father.
Yeah, you said that. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw it with my grandmother. So I've seen wherever it is not a violent death, an abrupt death.
Yeah, peaceful death. Yeah, at home. Yeah.
And wherever it is abrupt, there is a sort of a shock in the expression, either facial or otherwise. Yeah. So actually, if anyone wants to, yeah, go ahead, Madhu.
I have a question. Here in the book, they say the time when the time comes to die, we only think about all the good things that happened. Is that so, sir? Sometimes won't we think about the regrets that, oh, I did not do that, I should have done that. Wouldn't those thoughts come? Only we would think of only good?
Oh, see, generally it has been noticed that if the life has been actually answering that question, Madhu, it depends upon the type of ending that you are undergoing. In Rudra's case, he only thought about the good because he had already the guidance of his guru. There are people who only think the regrets of what they should have done right. So it's a mixture. So how the last few days of the person he undergoes. For example, if I take my dad's experience, he was always concerned whether my mother would be taken care of or not. 1 week before he was admitted to the hospital, he called up my wife. Normally he doesn't call up, he calls me. He called up my wife and said, I don't know, I'm not getting a positive vibe. My mother was admitted to the hospital. And he calls up my wife and says, Sandhya, I think from tomorrow onwards, you have to take care of your mother-in-law. And then he put the phone down. Right? First thing, when he was admitted in the hospital, he asked me, has your mother been discharged? I said, she's being discharged today. So where are you taking her? And obviously, I will take her to my house. He said, okay, fine. He smiled and then he closed his eyes. Then he underwent all the problems that he went. He came out of it. He came home. He was with her for 2 days and then he breathed his last. So what I'm seeing is the people, if they have concerns, then they do not go away peacefully. They go away with regret. If their concerns have been addressed, they go away peacefully. That's my observation. Does that answer your question, Madhu? Madhu?
Yes, sir. But this is a single experience, right, sir? But is that universal?
Yes. See, it is not necessary that everybody goes away in a peaceful manner. Right? It depends upon the life that he has led. If that service, that life is devoid of services, that life is divided of anything for anybody else other than selfish, right? I don't think such souls would depart peacefully because they are still living in the materialistic world. They want everything. That's my take on the soul at the last time, minutes. Anyone who
Yes,
wants
sir.
to add to that?
Yeah. Sure, please do.
Okay, Vindhya, you had a question. You had raised your hand for some time.
No, I just wanted to also come now. First of all, sorry I couldn't join earlier and I joined, but I was listening to your takeaways and I wanted to add like how Ramakrishnaji, he put the three categories. I had a few views on those three. First of all, master about a guru. I think our spiritual tablet invitation itself has at the end, when the student is ready, the master appears. So I think it is totally on us when we completely are ready to surrender, accept. That's like you said, the gurus are there everywhere. It's us who have to recognize and the masters appears. So even Surrender Experiment, when I was reading, Michael Singer, when there's one guru who comes and he invites, but he still doesn't feel very comfortable with him. He's still thinking of his own guru that he had before, Ramakrishna Ji or so. So once he decides, let go and, give full faith to this guru, he lets go and accepts. And that's when he actually sees him as his, he can see him as a master or guru. So I think it's, I agree with you. Total surrender and acceptance is when student is ready for the master. That's one thing. And the other one was about unconditional love. Yes, I like the way you defined those three terms, but I feel it's even more than that. You talked about I felt you talked about towards one person, but I feel unconditional love is like towards anything, anybody, anywhere. It's like,
I didn't mean any person. I said the basic definition is no returns expected. How many people are there on the other side isn't it?
Actually, it's like same even for everyone. That's what I wanted to add. It's like it's because even again, because I'm reading that book, Surrender Experiment. They go to jail, the prisoner, and it's when he actually, that master comes and when he cannot talk, that David, the prisoner, all he can say is, I felt that love from you, that unconditional love. And that's what I think a master brings, full unconditional love to you. And I think that's the main goal all of us have, recognizing each other and giving that unconditional love. So and then the last thing about peace at dying, as you were describing, I think I mentioned this before too. I was by my mother-in-law when she passed away, and there's so many things that happened right when she was passing away, but incoherent talking and excitement, some dryness and this and that, all those things. But the final moment when she left, yes, her face was glowing and she was looking at Baba's picture, and I felt some light some light go from her to towards Baba, I felt. But yes, the face, she was suffering from cancer, so she was weak all those days, but that moment it was like there was life in her face, and suddenly it left. So I just wanted to add that. That's all. Hope it helps. Thank you everyone for sharing. Beautiful sharings. Thank you.
Sir,
bringing one more point.
Yeah, Archana, go ahead.
Sir, about that three kind of faith, sir, can you just brief up once more, sir, if you don't mind?
We'll do that. Let us first finish. Ramakrishna Ji had a question or a comment.
Sure, sir.
The death is expected to bring peace, because in soul's journey, we already read that soul exits at its will as planned. One out of the 9 exits, right? So when it is planning to exit, obviously it should have peace. Am I right? Or unconnected?
Sir, it depends again on the state of evolution. For a highly evolved person, there is always happiness when he is exiting. Why? Can you think?
Sir, please, can you just repeat the question again?
For a person who is highly evolved, exit from planet Earth brings him a lot of happiness.
Because he knows he's joining his source.
Agree.
He has
I won't use the
completed
word
his
source.
It's like graduation day.
It is like graduation day. It is like
He has completed
basically
his purpose
he
of life,
knows.
whatever he has come for.
He knows that this is a place of visit, not his home. And with death, he is going back home. Yeah.
And that was planned.
Correct. Now,
I think
yeah, go ahead.
No, I just came up with this graduation day phrase, but now it makes that phrase itself is making a whole lot more sense. It's like, at the end of your whatever you've gone to study for, let's say if it's a degree or whatever, at the end of it, you are leaving, you're going to graduate and go. And also, that after graduation, you have the possibility and opportunity to come back as alumni and give a guest lecture there and help somebody else who's still doing their course.
Right.
And at the beginning of your course that one day you're going to graduate and go.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, any other comment? Otherwise,
sorry. Just one more thing, sir. When you come into that course also, before you take the course, when you apply for the course, you would have decided, what subjects I'm going to take, what I'm going to do, and then like how I'm going to go about this whole thing that I'm going to do up to the graduation point. So similarly, I think even the soul plan is made as to what you're going to study during that period. And of course, if you haven't finished completing those studies, you need to stay one more year until you finish to graduate. So you go through another lifetime until you complete learning all that you've needed to learn.
Yeah, beautiful analogy, Vinjaji. Absolutely.
So may I add something?
That was Priyaji, sir.
Priyaji, thank you.
So,
go ahead.
What I understand from all the books and all, a humankind who has come on this earth have come from somewhere and has to go to somewhere. Okay. Whatever the life or he has got on the planet Earth, he has to just serve and to make best out of it.
Why are you saying only serve? Why not learn? Why not receive service?
Learn, live, whatever you want to say. Everything. Learn, live, purpose you have to fulfill. So every humankind, have come from somewhere and is going somewhere. So it's a journey. It's a journey. So during this journey, whatever we can make use of our life, can make use of it. That's all.
So coming back to Archana's request. Anyone else wants to answer Archana's question?
So what was the question?
That's a good question.
Archana, can you repeat your query?
Yes, sir. So we have been talking about 3 kinds of faith, sir. So if someone can just brief upon those. क्योंकि वो हमेशा वो second और third वाले में confusion रहता है, sir.
No, second was transactional, Archana ji. give and take. That was the second one.
Earlier also when we had discussion on this, Ramakrishna ji, so usme bhi we were like confused. I if I'm not mistaken, Priya ji and we were like, we were always confused between the second and the third one. So I thought like, why not just go through that three.
What is the second one? That's why I'm saying, is it a transactional love that you're talking about, give and take?
नहीं, अब आपको ही पूरा बोलना पड़ेगा.
That is the second one we discussed.
Okay. पहला वाला.
हाँ sir, बोलिए sir.
राहुल कुछ कहना चाहती है.
Yeah, the three types of faith. The first one is mostly give and take. Archana ma'am. The first one is okay. I'll make 10 दिन उपवास करूँगा. Then the God is gonna.
हाँ, correct.
That is the idea.
The first one is not that way.
The second one and the third one is very, very, very fine, minutely, very difficult to understand. And the second one is, he says these people are dangerous. In the context, they'll show unabashedly they are very faithful. In the context that this whole life is my God's given gift and everything I'll do whatever it is, but God will take care of me and He'll take care of me in a good way. Means in the sense that jo bhi aayega, even the difficult situations that they'll have in their life, they'll think like, okay, these difficult situations are coming, they'll face it, they're very courageous, they'll face it head on. But in the back of the mind, they'll say that, okay, my God will take care of me, these things are eventually gonna go. So he says that these people, they are very, very faithful in that context, but they'll expect something like these situations are gonna abhi to nahi, at least in the next 30 to 40 years, they're going to come down or they're going to be a better way. But they're head on facing it and they'll have that faith till the last moment. Okay. Now, the third one is something which is different. There's a difference between the second and third one. It's not called positive surrender. The idea of positive surrender that comes in the third one. Now, whatever happens to them, they'll have faith, similar like the idea of the whole faith, like that the master is there, he'll take care of me. But whatever the negative situations or whatever are coming in my life, this is also a learning to me. That level of understanding is there for them. And they'll see themselves as a vehicle, just like they're going through an experience. So that's why he says that even the God will fear of these people who are having this third kind of faith. Because they're so faithful that they'll completely surrender, like to the whatever the decimal or whatever you think, that whatever the things are happening in their life, they'll not even have an inch of doubt of what exactly is happening, not even a cross doubt. But the second, there's a little difference. I was also reading, it's so beautifully said, second people are, he says it, these people are dangerous, they have so much faith, but still they try to challenge or they try to, give an exam to his higher self or the God. They say that, okay, these are coming in my life, but my God will take care of it. It's his responsibility. He'll take care of it. I'll just do whatever it is. He'll take care of it. That's it.
My take is slightly different, Rahul.
Yeah.
First one, as you said, probably what you are saying is what I am going to say. But probably the words are not falling in place.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
What you have understood is very correct. I'm just trying to refine the words. First one. I have invested in God. Let us talk the business language. Right? I have invested in God with my faith. So God has to pay me back my investment or for my investment.
You mean God will take care of me? You mean like God will take care of me?
God has to, God now owes me.
Oh.
I have given him 100 rupees worth of my service. He owes me. Right? I'm trying to make this slightly funny, but at the same time, the concept is very clear. Just give, take. But you have given first before he has given you. Okay? First one, any question?
Yeah, I just want to add to the first one in the book.
Paresh Rawal ka movie aaya tha na?
Huh?
ओ माय गॉड, परेश रावल का मूवी आया था, उससे रिलेट कीजिए इसको।
उससे रिलेट नहीं कर सकते।
सारे ठंडा दिए और भगवान के
अरे
घर
वो
में
खुद पूछता है, भगवान क्या धंधा करता है क्या? या प्रिया जी।
Yeah, no, I was saying in the book he had referred to that waiter, going to God like a waiter. It's saying that I've come to your restaurant, so now you better serve me good food. That's what he says in the book. Yeah. So that is the first one. So where he says, I've come to you, so you better serve me good food. Like expecting the waiter in the restaurant to serve you is the analogy he uses for the first phase.
That the waiter is not the person who anyway cooks.
No, but it's like, I've come to your restaurant, so you better serve me good food. So that is the expectation with the first type of comes.
Correct. So, my God, I have given you my faith. Now you owe me. And you have to give me what I have asked for. Second one is, the faith is with an expected outcome in the result. It is not anything otherwise. That means, I believe my God will take care of me and give me what I am expecting.
Okay. Condition. Small.
So, sab kuch, whatever you I am asking, he will give.
God is my giver. I trust him and he will give me what I have asked. Whether it is good or for bad for me, doesn't matter. I have asked him, I will get. The third one is, God will give me what I have asked if it is good for me. Otherwise, he will give me something else. But he will give me something that is good for me. It could be pain, it could be pleasure, doesn't matter. And I surrender myself to God and I will take what he gives me. That is the third kind. Can you repeat those three for me, Archana?
Sir, second, नहीं sir, second में third में क्या difference है sir?
Sir, मुझे क्या समझ में आया second and third में?
Second and third में नहीं एक मिनट मेरे को पूरा करने दो. After I complete.
Yes.
See, the second one is, I have full faith in my God that he will give me what I am asking for. मैंने जो पूछा वो मिलेगा, भले वो अच्छा हो या बुरा हो, मैंने पूछा है, मेरे को वो मिलेगा.
बुरा मतलब किसकी नजरों में सर?
मेरे लिए वो बुरा हो सकता है. मैंने अभी 10 लाख पूछा है.
हाँ, तो वो हमारे लिए बुरा कैसे होगा सर?
हाँ, क्यों होगा? 10 लाख आज मिला और कल कोई डकैती हुआ है, मेरे को मार दिया, मेरा जान ही खत्म हो गया. वो 10 लाख नहीं होता तो मैं जिंदा रहता आज. एंड इफ मैंने भगवान को 10 लाख पूछा है, भगवान सोचेगा साला इसको 10 लाख दे के क्या फायदा है, 20 लाख देता हूँ, राइट? या इसको 10 लाख नहीं, इसको 5 लाख देते हैं, उसको 5 लाख के लिए और थोड़ा देखता हूँ ये क्या करेगा 5 लाख से.
रगड़ने दे.
Correct. So God will give. My faith in God is such that I have asked him what I wanted, but he has given me something different, which means it is something which is more important for my growth, for my evolution, rather than the 10 lakhs that I have asked. For example, there are so many cases, right? Let us say you ask for a house. Of that,
sir, second one like ATM machine, sir.
Huh?
Second one is like ATM machine.
The ATM machines are also not behaving nowadays. You go there, they will say, no, cannot service your request.
So यहाँ पे second में एक question है sir. I have a question for the second one. So as you said, whatever you ask, God will give. What if God doesn't give? God
in spite of, so immediately you change your stand. Your faith becomes a disbelief. You start blaming God. I did all this for God, but God did not take care of it.
So there's
it is like a boat story. It is the story of the boat, na? A fellow is in a sink. A small boat says, "Come, I will help you." He says, "No, my God will send me a boat." Then ultimately, when he is about to sink, after 4 instances, right? This guy blames God, saying that, "God, I have been praying you so sincerely, you never came to my rescue." He says, "What do you mean? Right? I sent you 4 different kinds of boats, but you did not recognize." Right? That is the faith which is expecting what he wants. That expectation has to be 100% a match to what he is asking. If it doesn't match, it means God is not in loving him. Like he also gives an example in this book, right? God was so kind, that is why I have been saved. Does it mean that the God is harsh to someone else if something goes wrong with it? Or does it not mean that God is not protecting him? Just take that example of, what is his name? Jeevan, is it?
Jeevan.
Right? Jeevan ka example kya hai? He is supposed to live for up to the age of 78 astrologically.
78.
But what happens to him?
Around 20 somewhere. Yeah.
Because he has to suffer the rest of the life. So
God decides, I mean, his guru decides, his God decides. He has done enough service in this lifetime which can compensate for his pain. Let me relieve him. Now, these are the 3 things. So now, Priyaji, you can add to that.
Yes, sir. According to the book, what I understood, the second faith, they're not totally like conditional. It's like small things. They are actually, he mentions that they're more actually connected and more spiritually connected and in touch with their master and God. So small minor things that come to them on a day-to-day small issues, they take it as tests from their master and be overcome with grace. But when something major happens, then they go into the conditional mode where they are, it is like, even I had faith that he will deliver and he has not, but he has let me down. So then they still believe in God, but they kind of turn against that and saying that God has not come and saved me in this and have allowed this to happen to me. That is the second one. So small things they do, they are very spiritually connected, but there is a connection with the expectation also at the same time. So even small things they take, but when it becomes something that that is much bigger, they totally attribute it to not being saved by God. Whereas the third kind, I'll read out that portion, sir. Sir, shall I read that portion out?
Yeah, read it out.
I'll just read it out.
Which page number is that, Priyaji? Which page number?
In the physical book, 62, 63.
Achha.
Okay. So when you have a mantra that goes like, I have faith in you, that you will not let me down and only do all that I desire, then my son, that is a very conditional faith. But remember, in this category, at least these children of God are stronger and far more attuned with their master than most people. Spiritually too, they are more connected and really trying to be in constant touch with their master and God. Thus, prayers and spirituality come more naturally to them, and day-to-day small issues are taken as minor tests from their master to be overcome with grace. Thus, prayers and spirituality come more naturally to them, and day-to-day small issues are taken as minor tests from their masters to be overcome with grace. It's only when the volcano erupts that their faith becomes conditional. But through the turmoil too, they are composed, confident, and handle the situation with grace. But it is conditional. Underwritten conditions apply. I have faith that my master will deliver and not let me down. So still the expectation is there. They still continue to have their faith, but they have that expectation all the time. Whereas in the third category, they have the faith, but they do not have any expectation at all. Whatever comes, they take it as this is part of what is already designed. It has come with the permission of my master. I'll read out the third portion if you want. Shall I do that, sir? Okay. Now we come to the most sublime form of faith. It's called graceful surrender. How do I define this form of faith? It is as finely chiseled as a straw of grass and as strong as the roots of a banyan tree. It is because of this faith that even God hesitates before letting loose his wrath. The God lover or God child who has this faith flowing through the soul has no expectations and no demands. There is no devotee or disciple too. There is just pure grace and surrender. If a disaster takes place, the child's very foundations are not shaken. The child also does not believe that I have full faith that my master will resolve this problem, or my master will not let me down, or I have complete faith in my master, God, or prayer that this catastrophe, problem, adverse situation will be taken care of and I'll come out of it unscathed. No. When a catastrophe does strike, the child of true faith, first of all, is aware that whatever is taking place is doing so with the approval of his or her master. Thus, whatever unpleasantness is happening around, the child is certain that the hard experience has arrived only after his or her master's approval. The person of true faith is certain that the master has allowed the circumstances to enter his or her life for a purpose. And the child does not want to know the reason or purpose. He or she is content in the knowledge that nothing good or bad, pleasant or unpleasant, joy or grief can enter his or her life without the consent of the master. If it has the consent of the master, then whatever the unpleasant experience be, death, illness, separation, betrayal, bankruptcy, agony, grief, ill repute allegations, etc., whatever, it has arrived with a reason, and the master knows the reason, and the master has willed it. And if something has been approved and blessed by the master, then that is all that matters. For in this form of faith, the person's philosophy is simple. Not a leaf moves and not a breath is taken without the approval of the master. Thus, neither good experiences nor hard circumstances can enter the person's life without the master's consent. Now, this philosophy is not as simple as it sounds. Also, this is not a fatalistic approach to life. The person who lives this philosophy has left every breath, thought, action, repercussion, karma, life here and beyond in the care of the master. The person gives his or her best to life and to every moment lived, but leaves the consequences to God or master without any expectation of reward or security or solace. In fact, in this form of faith, the person does not even expect protection from the master, because to expect even protection of any sort means harboring some kind of expectation from the master. In this form of faith, the child has left it all to the master. The child is certain that whatever happens to him or her, it is happening with the will of the master. And whatever happens with the will of the master is perfect and for the highest good. This form of faith requires total surrender. It is the most difficult, but also the most sublime. That's why I think he refers to banyan tree and grass. It frees you from all expectations and also the agony of reward and punishment, success and failure, happiness and grief. You give your best to life and leave the rest to your master. The master knows best, and that's that. So the philosophy is not, I have faith my master will take care of me and will not let me down, but I have faith in my master, and whatever happens, my master knows best, and it's happening with my master's permission and approval. As it is happening with my master's blessings, then nothing could be better for me than this. The most important thing is that whatever takes place is accepted gracefully and with positive surrender as the will of the master. The consequences are accepted gracefully and calmly. Remember, it is easier said than done. This complete faith means annihilation of one's own self and identity. The person or this child of God becomes more like a dervish, a medium, an instrument of her master. As the dervish fine-tunes his or her faith more and aligns his or her frequency or vibration with that of the master, the child begins to lose his or her own identity and takes on the identity of the master. The more you lose yourself, the more you connect with the master. The more you shed away yourself, the more space your master gets to occupy. The less of you means more of your master within you. Those who are really fine-tuned with their master's frequency may in the end lose themselves completely, and it is in them their master or God resides. Then they become the true vessels or instruments where whatever they say, think, do, see, hear, all is through the master. In fact, it is done by the master. Yeah.
So, in our own lifetime, if we really try to divide our faith, during the initial years of our evolution, it is in, I am praying to God every day, I will pass all my exams. In the middle age.
Just 1 second, sir. There's one more paragraph where he's distinguishing between these two. Shall I just read that? He's specifically distinguishing between these two.
What?
He says, remember, both these type of people leave it all to God, but notice the difference. The dervish, that is the third one, gives his or her best without the thought of reward and consequence, and leaves the result gracefully to the master and accepts with positive surrender all that life bestows as a will of the master. The fatalist, that is the second one, never gives his or her best to life, as that person believes that anyway all is destined by God, who is only interested in the balance sheet of karma. So do whatever you like, but in the end, whatever has to happen will happen. This person does not accept things with positive surrender, but more with resignation and helplessness, even negativity, frustration, and defeat. There's a difference of heaven and earth between positive surrender and a fatalistic approach to life. Yeah.
So in the second category is typically your middle age. In the middle age, what happens? You rest your faith and you will always expect that God will give you what you are asking. And when He doesn't, right, we are not willing to align ourselves with the outcome.
Accept.
And that happens a number of times in the middle age. Then you come towards the last stage. Whatever you do, you will get what God has to give you. So in our lifetime also, typically we will see the manifestation of all these three. Now comes the question of our acceptance. We accept number one. We feel we are forced to accept number three. And next, in number two, whenever He rewards us, we have faith in Him. And when He doesn't reward us, we have the ability to curse Him. So these are the three things that will always help us keep in mind and understand the difference between the three. As long as He is giving me what I am asking for, I am in the second category.
Majority of times we go through first and second category, third is rare.
Now you have to become like me.
So shouldn't we strive for the third one? Because that's how...
You take your Chandra, sir. What has happened to him? Huh? During his middle age, without asking also, he was given more than what he wanted. Then one day came. Oh, your success has gone to your head, now you have to fall. So he removed the और जमीन के नीचे से मेरे को खींच लिया,
पैर के नीचे से जमीन खींच लिया।
हाँ, पैर के नीचे से क्या। Then I fell with a thud from about 5,000 pounds of salary per month. When I'm talking about 1999, 2000, where which was not heard of, right? I suddenly became zero, literally zero. Came back to India and then again restarted my life, right? So when he threw me down, I said, God is useless, no point in having faith in him and all. I came to India, he gave me a much better job. Then I said, no, I think I was wrong. God has now taken care of it. Right? Then he gave me the impact of diabetes where he took away 5 toes. So immediately I got very angry with him. But then, when I started introspecting on that, I said, he took away the 5 fingers, but he did not make me lame. Right? So somebody is protecting. That is when the guru came into my life. Right? So he was telling me devtas and whatnot. I was explaining and all that. I understood that. Then today, probably he has given me so much that I'm happy. I'm able to rebuild my life. All this, where did it come from? Because of my faith. Okay, he has taken away 5 fingers, so what? He has still left me mobile as I was earlier. He has left me with the courage. Oh yes, now I am learning my lesson. Whatever is necessary for me, he is giving me that and I am happy. Right? So, in a given lifetime, we go through all these things. And probably it was because of probably this meditation sessions and all of you that I am realizing that yes, I have been given this so that the pace at which I was moving earlier has been brought down, fine-tuned, to proceed peacefully without concern. Today I have no expectation in life. बच्चे सेटल हो गए, घर है, सब कुछ है, आराम से चल रहा है और मजे में मेडिटेशन का काम चल रहा है. Right? So this teaches me at least that I have seen all these 3 stages and today I am able to recognize those.
सर ये फर्स्ट वाला फिर कहाँ है सर? जॉब फर्स्ट वाले
जब कॉलेज
वो हम लोग अच्छा
एग्जाम्स
में जो भी एग्जाम है चंद्रा तो क्लास फर्स्ट आ जाएगा. अच्छा ठीक है. तो फाइनल एग्जाम में क्या हुआ, वो कंप्यूटर साइंस में प्रोफेसर को नाराज किया. उसने बोला मैं तेरे को देख लूंगा. उसने देख लिया. इतना किया भगवान के लिए, मेरे को भगवान ने फेल कर दिया. वो आ गया स्टेज 2. प्रोफेसर ने बोला था देखो यार तुमको जो भी हो तुम्हारा, और मैं भी नाराजगी में प्रोफेसर को बोल दिया मेरे को आपने फेल करवाया, आपको तो प्रोफेसरशिप दिलाया, हेड ऑफ द डिपार्टमेंट मिल गया, डिपार्टमेंट अलग करवाया और मेरे को तो फेल्यूर मिला. लेकिन 5 साल के अंदर मेरे 5 क्लासमेट मेरे लिए काम करेंगे, मैं उतना तो विथ वेंचर्स आगे बढ़ूंगा. दैट हैपेंड इन द फर्स्ट 4 years. अरे भगवान ने मेरे को सपोर्ट किया तो अभी सेकंड स्टेज में आ गया. भगवान का सपोर्ट के कारण मैंने जो पूछा मेरे को मिल गया. चलो अभी बाबा को कंटिन्यू करके प्रे करते हैं. फिर ऊपर से नीचे फेंका, अरे इतना किया तो मेरे को कुछ नहीं दिया बाबा ने. यहाँ पे आया, वहां से आने के पहले मेरे लिए यहाँ पे नौकरी तैयार था. तो अरे वाह बाबा ने इतना किया तो मैं गलत था. Then I went on to learn that yes, if you trust God, He really protects you. So I continue. अब 4 उंगलियां ले लिया, ऐसा क्यों हुआ? That the acceptance was based on the, not that God doesn't like me, but on the realization that I say, "Kyun hua?" There was no hatred, there was no demand.
Question.
Right? But there was a sort of acceptance without resistance. तो उसके बाद में और थोड़ा भगवान पे भरोसा बढ़ा, गुरु जी का एक्सप्लेनेशन सुना, तो अब तब लगा, अरे भगवान ने मेरे उंगलियां निकाल लिया तो क्या हुआ, मेरे को चलने के लिए तो छोड़ा है ना. Right? So actually in a lifetime we need to recognize we seem to go through all these stages in our own. That is the significance of this book, at least to me.
Sir, I wanted to add, when you talked about the three faiths, and Priyaji also was reading again, I felt like I thought of karma. We accrue karma in the first, definitely second also, but in the third, the karma factor doesn't play in, because everything we accept without any expectations. So I felt even in the second one, there's karma, because you're accepting it, but with not full acceptance, right? So you're still
actually
saying,
you're not accepting. Basically in the second one, you're not accepting.
God there है सब कुछ मेरे लिए.
तो वही तो balance नहीं हो रहा है.
हाँ. So I felt that, and Hindi में ना अर्चना जी, I felt this sentence, the second and third. भगवान जो भी देगा अच्छा ही देगा. Okay. And third one
is सही देगा.
सही देगा.
अच्छा. And third one I felt भगवान जो भी देगा अच्छा ही है. Not देगा, अच्छा ही है. मेरे
अच्छा ही
लिए
है या सही देगा. सही देगा.
देगा भी है. और and again the way she read, the other thing was like, the third one is like you're total in unison with God. You are God, you're recognized, and God is working through you. You left yourself empty.
Basically, you're not there.
Obviously, you're not even there. So God is only doing.
You're not in the picture.
कर रहा है, भगवान ही कर रहे हैं ना. So इतना अभी रुद्रा में भगवान आके किया ना सब ऐसा ही. I think we all think the same thing, right? That level to reach is when you're full acceptance and you are God. So obviously, whatever you're doing, it's just happening. The way
basically
your
going
maturity,
totally in the flow.
Is
you're not resisting the flow.
Your maturity levels or your evolution, right, is at the higher state in the third one.
Yes.
The third stage is usually a state of egolessness. There is no more ego.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. So we don't even accrue karma, nothing. So that's where
there is no more I, me, mine.
Yeah, no ego, no I. It's
when you go to that egoless state, you are in that third stage of faith.
They say, right, like the empty flute where the music flows through it, like that. You become like that and let the life flow through you.
Yes.
Yeah, no.
And that's why in the first few pages he says, right, it takes wisdom to give life one's best shot and then accept gracefully whatever fate or providence has in store.
The prayer.
Total positive surrender.
The prayer.
You need,
True.
So we all are going to that third stage of faith.
Oh, that's
what I was going to ask. Abhi hum log kahan atke hue hain?
And Priya ma'am, towards the end, so beautifully she read.
आपने realize कर लिया तो third stage, नहीं तो first या second.
नहीं सर, मुझे लग रहा है कि I'm moving towards the third one, sir. आजकल वाकई no, I mean, of course, it is a long
I am in
process,
second.
but
I am still in second.
Yes,
I think towards the third.
Second.
Because I don't know if there is some situation in my life.
We are in second, though many a time we experience the third one. We are yet to recognize.
In meditation.
Actually,
because in my real awakened state that right now I am in, if something happens to my loved ones, will I be able to accept it or not it? That's a test for me. Maybe that time I'll know, but right now I'm very sure I'm in second stage.
Yes.
Having completed this book, I'm moving towards the third stage.
Yeah. I need
because now I know, right? I know what is the third stage.
I have that wisdom, sir, but in reality, will I be able to do it? That's something I'm working on.
That's lovely.
Ravali, the answer to your question is,
yes, sir.
Momentarily, you may feel that you are in the second.
Yes, sir.
Right? But eventually you will say, if it has happened, it means it is for my good. So let me learn what I have to. Just
Yes,
like
sir.
Chandra sir
Yes,
says
you
in his
have the
meditation,
awareness.
let all
Yeah.
my bad experiences become my what?
Experience, wisdom.
Wisdom.
Right? You come to that stage and then you say that and then you are happy to proceed.
Yes, sir.
Ravali, I think that's true. We have the awareness, right? Even when I also do something, immediately I catch, after I do also, but
Yeah.
I catch myself.
Yeah.
So I think
Yes.
No,
that's
no.
what
I mean, the little, that's what the second stage
That
says.
awareness
That
is
the
key.
little things, it's good. But when the volcano bursts, are you ready?
Yes. And
you would be.
those
I
who
mean,
have been in our book club will certainly
Yeah.
be at the evolved stage, I'm sure.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Because
Because
नहीं तो फिर
whatever
से याद दिला
little,
दूंगा मैं कि वो
whatever
फकीर
little
में वो
volcano are bursting, I think I'm good,
क्या
sir.
चीज सर? क्या चीज?
नहीं, अगर if someone says ऐसा क्यों हुआ ये हुआ तो बोलेंगे फकीर का तलब वो लास्ट कैटेगरी है ना वो जरा याद करो. And each of us can do the same thing with the other. अभी बाकी अपने चेहरे कुछ थोड़ा बहुत लाइट करेंगे. लाइट काले काले डिब्बे जो दिख रहे हैं वो
एक
थोड़ा
एक्स्ट्रा मेंबर सर.
हाँ
एक एक्स्ट्रा मेंबर.
हाँ आ गया वो उसके ऊपर बहुत चमक रहा है. वो सोच रहा है क्या मेरे बारे में ऐसे बोल रहे हैं, एक कान ऊपर करके एक कान को नीचे करके.
उसका बचपन से एक कान नीचे है सर.
वो डाउन टू अर्थ है और दूसरा है ये क्या बोल रहे हो.
डाउन टू अर्थ.
No, that is
Madhu.
that is connect.
Madhu,
That is
Swarna,
connection to the
Vardhini
higher.
ma'am.
No, that is connection to the higher and grounding down. Both grounding or connection.
दोनों एक साथ कर रहा है. दोनों एक साथ.
Yeah, I have something to share, sir. Just now,
yeah.
we have a one fish.
No,
sir.
unless
We
you
have
share
a-
unless you show your faces, not eligible to share. अच्छा recording तो हो गया ना topic? Recording हो गया. Okay, I will stop the recording.
Yeah, sir.
Now gossip.
Hello, everyone.